and welcome to Business in Hawaii with Reg Baker. This is a show that broadcasts every Thursday at 2 o'clock from 2 to 2:30 live on thinktechhawaii.com. You can also call in live and join our conversation at 415-871-2474. So please do join the conversation. We'd love to hear from you. We broadcast from the ThinkTech studios in downtown Honolulu in the Pioneer Plaza. We are also accepting Twitter tweets. So please join our conversation through Twitter if you would like to. Today we're going to be talking to one of the recognized, I'm going to say internationally recognized, software developer for shaping surfboards. I didn't know this, but most of you that do surf may already know this. But every surfer is a little different. Everybody who rides a board has a different weight, different distribution, different stance, and depending upon the wave, a different way to ride the wave. And what Jimmy Freese has designed is a program that can actually design surfboards down to the millimeter, maybe even something less than a millimeter, on how the surfboards can be specifically and customized design for that rider. So, Jimmy, it's great to have you on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Before we get into some of the mechanics or the design of surfboards, can you share with us a little bit about yourself? I mean, where did you grow up and where did you go to school and that sort of thing?
I grew up in Kailua, and then I went to high school in Punahou, and then college in Pittsburgh, Carnegie Mellon, and then graduate school at University of Texas in Austin.
Wow, so you went from Hawaii all the way up to the north, where it was kind of chilly, a little bit better down in Texas.
A little bit better in Austin, yes.
Yeah, so that's, so you had how long were you on the mainland?
In total in school 6 years, 1 year in between at Motorola, and so I guess at that point, 7 years.
About 7 years on the mainland. And then you came back how long ago?
Well, I came back after that, briefly here to work with an internet startup, and then I went to Australia, and then I went to New York, and then I came back here for good in 2004.
So you've had a lot of good experience here. Now what was your major when you were going to school on the mainland?
Studied chemical engineering.
Chemical engineering.
Yeah.
Okay. And tell me, how did this transition into software design?
Well, I did a lot of mathematical simulations. So I studied what's called control theory, and process control. And so that requires a fair amount of programming, software scripting and programming, and a lot of modeling and simulation. So that's sort of how I kind of randomly fell into this.
Good. And I would assume you're a surfer too, right?
I surf, yeah.
Yeah. And so you actually started, doing something that was maybe a hobby. You turned it into a profession.
Yeah, that's how it started, as kind of as a hobby and something that we didn't think would be profession.
All right. Well, and so you, was this by design, or did this just kind of happen over, a period of time?
I mean, again, it was a kind of a random encounter with a business partner, someone that became a business partner in Australia, when I went down to Australia just to go surf with my friend and my sister and have fun. And I had sort of read an article about what these guys were doing, and a friend of mine over here is a shaper. And so this technology was just starting to go, and then I went and talked to these guys, and they showed me the boards that they were making, and I was like, this is worlds ahead of what's going on in Hawaii. And actually, the machine that was here was actually from Brazil, so it looked like the best I'd seen, and they needed a software solution, so that's how we started.
So this is a relatively new industry then. It was just, when you said that we're still in the infancy, it hadn't quite taken on here. I mean, how long ago was that?
So that was in 2001.
So it's been about 15 years.
Yeah.
And you were, you gotten into that industry in a fairly early stage.
Yeah, we were pretty early. We weren't the earliest, but we were pretty early.
All right, so now you've been doing this for about 15 years now.
Mm-hmm.
It started out as, you being a surfer. I guess you learned surfing in Kailua, but it sounds like you've been in a lot of different places.
Yeah, I like to travel for surfing. I mean, every surfer likes to travel and go to new spots and different spots and surf new waves.
Well, but not every surfer can afford to do that. You've been lucky to be able to
have that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's great.
It's been all right.
Yeah. And so all these different places you've gone to, I guess, and you've been my educator on the surfing world. So different waves, different breaks, different intensity, different board requirements.
Exactly. Yeah, each wave, depending on you're in kind of a hollow barreling wave or, you know, a wave that requires a lot of turns, you might want a different piece of equipment. Different sizes require different size boards.
Right.
So different size waves.
Well, different size wave, but also the riders are different too.
Riders are different size guys. You know, I mean, yeah, it's. I don't know if I've ever come across anybody that has a magic board that another guy says that that's their magic board. If you see what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So
They're
it's
all
pretty
different.
unique to the
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, and now how, in the past, before they had technology, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but how did people customize their boards in the past? What was the process?
The process then was by hand from the shapers. So you have a conversation with your shaper and explain to them what you sort of wanted. You might bring in another board that they made you or someone else made you and say, look, I want these rails a little lower. I want more rocker in the nose. I want all these other things. And then they'd try and change those variables by hand. And it worked. I mean, most of the guys are great craftsmen, so it was good. But we've sort of eliminated down to
Some of that
no
was
human error.
maybe trial and error.
A lot of it was trial and error. I mean, it still is, you know, now. But now the trial and error again, it's you can isolate a variable, like a sharpness of a rail, or like a rocker, or lower thickness of anything.
Okay, and each one is specifically designed actually for a different person, but also for the different waves that they're riding. So it wouldn't be uncommon for somebody who is taking this very seriously to have a whole selection of boards on hand.
Yeah, I mean, I have friends with 50 plus boards.
Wow.
Yeah.
50 boards.
Well, that's what it looks like in his barn. I haven't counted them, but yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and that's I guess that's a pretty serious surfer.
Yeah.
You know, but you actually do this not only for people in Hawaii, but throughout the world.
Yeah, we have machines all over the world, and then I have software users all over the world. Yeah.
All right, so now let's talk a little bit about the process. You said you have machines all across the world. You've created the machine to do the shaping.
Yeah. So the process is, a design is done. So in the old days, like they would template the board, and maybe create an outline and create all these sort of different curves as to where they wanted things to go. Now that's done on screen, so in the CAD world, and then that is sent out to a CAM file that then talks to the machine. A blank gets put on the machine, and then the board gets made from and that piece of foam gets cut with our machine, and so then it comes out.
And how long
pretty
does
well
that
finished.
normally take?
The machining?
The cutting of the board.
Cutting the board on a short board is about 14 minutes, 15 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
As opposed to the old days when it could take,
About an hour and a half.
yeah, or maybe even longer. I mean that's a big board, and they got to sand it down and shape it and make it
And
smooth.
each shaper varies. You know, each guy will. Some guys want to talk about how fast they are, and other guys don't seem to. You know, some guys actually want to talk about how slow they are.
Well, I guess I guess a point of comparison would be, I think a Toyota can be made in 14 minutes, but a Rolls-Royce can take 6 months.
Yeah.
You know, and so sometimes people equate length of time to quality.
Right.
You know, so you could always tap the machine and make it go a little slower if you wanted to.
You could.
Very good. So you've got these machines, and they're all over the world?
All over the world. Yeah, I mean, Europe, South America, of course, North America, Australia, and Japan. Europe. Sorry, I said that. Portugal, Brazil, Spain. Yeah, all over. We got them. China, Thailand, Vietnam.
Wherever they got an ocean and a beach.
Yeah, and the last few that I named are manufacturing hubs for different kinds of boards. They make a lot of stand-ups in the manufacturing countries.
Okay, very good. And then now, but you're also a software guy too, aren't you? And you got programmers and whatnot that you're working with?
Yeah, so I have two guys that I work with that program with me, and yeah, they're really good.
So you got the machine, but you also got the software that actually runs the machine.
Yeah, so there's an intermediary sort of step where we create a file, and then the machine sort of reads it and then creates
So the file is the actual design of the board?
The file is the actual design of the board, yeah. So that's essentially the board model of that would be your board. So for example, if we were looking at it on on the screen in 3D, or if, you know, that we create these PDFs, and Shaper can send you a PDF of the board that's for you. You can look at it and do that. That would be the board. And then that's, for them, we try and keep that part simple. So create the board you want, we'll do the rest.
Okay, and then the software will actually drive the machine to do the proper cutting and the
Right.
shaping
Yeah.
and all that. Now, what's the finishing process? I mean, I would think you put the blank form in there, and then the machine will actually cut it to the specifications that it was designed. And then there's got to be a finishing process, right?
So there's a post-process after the machine of scrubbing, sort of, or like some sanding down and fine-tuning of the cut, and that can range from, depending on the shaper, 5 minutes to 15, 20 these days. I mean, we've taken it down. It used to take them about 20, and now our cuts are a little bit more fine-tuned. And then there's glassing. So that's the polyester resin or epoxy resin underneath, you know, or on top of a layer of fiberglass on top of the foam.
And if people wanted to put some sort of design on it or something like that, that could be incorporated into the process as well.
Yeah, there's lots of options. You can paint on the foam, or you can write on pens after the glassing, so after the board's finished. There's even resin tints that guys, you know, like swirly little trippy looking things that people put in their resin. So yeah, people play with designs.
Right. Now, you know, for you know, and unfortunately, I'm not a knowledgeable person in the surfing world, but you've designed boards for some fairly recognized people, have you not?
Well, we designed the tool that they use to design the boards, but yes, there's a lot of fairly recognized people that use our.
So they design the board. That's a good point, I guess. They can design the board to their specifications, and then you just plug the software into the system, so to speak, and the machine will cut it to their specifications. So maybe they design their own boards, but you're doing the shaping for them.
Yeah, so we do the machining and the shaping for them, and then the processing of the.
Now, is this is part of the machine that's on there, or?
So that right there is one of our customers, and yes, that's our machine right there, and that's a blank about to be cut, and that's the first part of the stringer cut.
Okay, and this is, you said this can be done pretty quick.
Yeah, so yeah, Christian's watching something that'll probably take about 14 minutes, 14,
Yeah,
maybe
that's-
15.
That's amazing. And it gets down, and I had mentioned earlier that you can get this down to a specific shape into the millimeters.
Yeah, if we're off by a millimeter, we're back to the drawing board.
Wow, that's impressive. So these are definitely highly customized and unique boards designed by the users. So
Right.
This is great. And you've got, just out of curiosity, do you keep any stats at all on the boards that you have helped shape and whether or not they've won different surf tournaments?
We don't keep stats. Yeah, we don't. I think there's a fair amount of those.
Yeah, but there's a lot of the people that have come to you for the shaping of the board that are recognized winners of these events.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah, see, if I was your marketing director, I'd be promoting the hell out of that. That's impressive.
Maybe we need some help.
Yeah, well, you're a very modest person, you know, but you've got a process that works with some of the top talent in the industry on an international basis. I think, you know, it's a hell of a story to be, you know, promoting.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, so now you've got, you control everything from Hawaii, or how is the company set up?
So the company's set up. I'm in Hawaii, and I do programming here, and I got 2 guys in California that we do the software part of the business here, and then my business partner designs and builds the machines in Australia, near the Gold Coast, and then he's got a couple guys helping him in his factory. And then so down there, that's how I do it.
So some of these people that want this type of shaping done, they'll contact you in some form or manner and let you know what you need, and you'll work with them, and then you can manufacture and you ship it to them, or?
Yeah, so we put the machine in a container, and we chase it down and fly down and set it up for them, train them.
Well, I want to go in a little bit more detail in the logistics on how all of this work. And if I was a surfer in England, I assume they surf in England.
They do. There's good waves there.
All right, then how would I reach out and work with you on getting something like this done? But we're going to take a short break. We're going to leave for just a minute. We're going to come right back after about 60 seconds, and we're going to continue our conversation with Jimmy Freese.
Aloha, I'm Kaui Lucas, host of Hawaii is My Mainland, here on Think Tech Hawaii every Friday afternoon at 3 p.m. Start your Pauhana weekend off with the show where I talk to people about issues pertinent to Hawaii. You can see my previous shows at my blog, kauilucas.com, and also on ThinkTech's.
Hey, Stan Energy Man here. Make sure you tune in on my lunch hour every Friday from noon until 12:30 at least. Maybe I'll go a little long if you got good stuff to share with you. But we'll talk about energy, all kinds of energy. My favorite is hydrogen, and my other favorite is transportation and hydrogen. But we'll talk about all kinds of energy. Be with us every Friday at noon, Stan Energy Man. Aloha.
Welcome back. This is Business in Hawaii with Reg Baker. This week we're talking with Jimmy Freese, who is the founder and owner of AKUshaper. It's one of the lesser known but internationally recognized surfing board shapers, and I think maybe one of the biggest, or at least in my mind it's one of the biggest. So Jimmy, on an international scale, how many people do what you do?
We have one software competitor and probably about 3 to 4 machine competitors.
So it's a very small,
Pretty niche-y.
competitive environment, and that's a good word. It's a niche-y type of environment, and I would say it sounds like you've got to be one of the bigger players in that niche.
Yeah, we're the biggest, yeah.
The biggest. All right. See, this is a story that we don't hear about in Hawaii. I mean, this is a real success story. So, can you walk us through if I was, as I was beginning to get into before the break, if I was a surfer in England and I wanted to get AKUshaper to work with me to design a board for me, how does that work?
Okay, so if you were a shaper that didn't own your own machine, but you were in England, you could download our software. You could look on the tutorials online. Some guys will email us and we'll help them. So maybe you'll have an idea for design and or mostly we'll help you with features and ideas and things like that. So then you'd make your board, and we might direct you to the 3 machines we have in England, and then you could then call one of those machines that cut boards for people.
Okay, so you actually got 3 different machines in England that once a surfer would have the design completed that they could do on your software, then they could take that file and take it to one of those 3 machines.
Right.
All right, and then they would cut it, finish it, and then the surfer would test it.
Cut it, finish it, glass it, and surf it. Yeah.
All right, and as the surfer is using the board and going through, and he falls off once or twice and blames the board for this, so he's got to go back and have it recut. How does that? Can they do a recut? Or
Yeah, that's the beauty of the system is if he decides that he's grumpy about one part of the board, he can change that, or he can and then he'll know that that's the change. So he can go back to the file that he created, and then say, look, I made these rails, maybe they were too hard, too sharp, all the way up, or whatever he might have done, and he can soften those rails, send it back to the machine. The machine will.
Now, do they use the same board to recut things, or do they get a new form that they work with and cut a new board?
No, that once the board's made, it's made.
Yeah.
So once the glassing's on, so they would have to get another blank and then cut another board.
Okay.
Reshape it, reglass it.
Right.
and
Tweak the
resurf it.
design a little bit, see if it works. And how many times, from your experience, how many riders will go through this process 2 or 3 times so they end up with several different boards?
Depends on kind of their level of experience and maybe the level of pickiness, but me personally, like I have a board that on probably the 3rd iteration became like a magic-ish board.
That was a sweet spot. You got
Yeah,
the
and
magic
it was,
board.
and I've probably, since then, I've talked to that shaper and I said, and I've ordered probably 4 of those boards after that, and I told him don't change anything. I don't think that we can do, what this board does, I don't want to mess with it.
So you took that design file and made it a PDF where you can't change it anymore. That's
Well,
the,
I just told them don't. You know, like I mean, like for example, when I broke one, I kept the board, kept the bottom of the board, and kept the number because I want to make sure that he had his serial number. That
Okay, so you broke a board, but you kept the bottom. I guess there's a part on the board where these all have serial numbers?
yeah. So on the bottom of the boards, guys will write they'll write your name, like for reg, maybe like the dimensions 6'2", 18 1/4, 2 3/8, or, and then but next to it might it'd be a little another note or something, and then it might be like 112573, or some of them they all do different things. Some of them will write which machine it came off. Like we have one that they have two machines and they use another machine down the street. They're very big. And so they'll write which machine it came off, like AKU1, AKU2, or so they just to track.
Now, interesting. Do the different machines have different results, or are they all pretty much consistent?
Assuming they're all calibrated, they shouldn't have different results.
Okay, so it's their calibration are necessary.
Assuming they're taken care of, yeah.
Okay. Have you had any interesting experiences during this process?
I mean, at the beginning, it was pretty interesting because it was a big technology jump for some of these guys, and so we would get emails and orders for machines from people's wives because these guys didn't even know how to write an email. They didn't even know how to use a computer, which is a bit of a challenge if you want to try and go train somebody how to run a machine, design on a CAD system, and then also you want to communicate them. Generally, we communicate with them over email or things like that, and so
It was a learning curve.
Yeah. But I mean, I had one cool story where one guy his son told me, he said, "Look, my dad, he doesn't do anything on computer. He hates them. But one day I had your software and I opened it up, and then he just pushed me aside and he's like, no, let me show you, and he's just jamming.
Wow.
And then he's an older guy and he's just like, but I don't want anything else to do with it. He makes his wife the same thing, makes the wife write the emails. But so. That was cool.
But he designs the boards, but he has everybody else do the other stuff.
Yeah, he doesn't want anything else to do with the computer. He just wants to play with the mouse and move some curves.
All right. Well, that's what I guess he knows best, on what he wants.
Good shaper, yeah.
Yeah, good. So there's shapers out there, and I don't want you to disclose any proprietary information that you're not comfortable with, but if there was a shaper somewhere out there that wanted to get this board or get the machine to design and work with his own boards, what's that process and how much does that cost?
Okay, so it depends on the size of the board, but on the smaller boards, ranges from high 20s to mid 30s for a short board, and then all the way up to maybe like 50, 60, 80 plus, depending on, we're talking big boards, like stand-ups might be even $100 to cut. So, and that's
So we were talking about dollars, not thousands of dollars.
to cut one board?
Yeah, so we're talking about $20 to cut a board.
Yeah.
Okay, small board, okay, short board. All right, because I was
30.
thinking, okay, well, $20,000, these guys are serious.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, boards are, boards retail for $500-600, so.
Okay, and so to cut it could be anywhere from $20 to $100. But how much, do they lease the machine or do they own the machine?
They own the machine, so they buy it outright from us.
Okay, and I guess, is the pricing of that kind of proprietary or?
No, it's we, so our standard machine that makes boards up to 12 feet, 33 inches wide, that one's $67,000.
Okay.
And then they can go up to stand-up boards, which, are stand-up machines. We made one that makes 21-foot machines, and then you get into like 100,000 kind of.
Okay, so for less than $100,000, they can buy the machine. The software can be downloaded and used by others to create the files. And then I guess it would have to be a computer hookup to it to kind of
Right.
run the machine, and that would be a separate price, or is that included?
No, that's included with the machine.
All right, so they get the whole package, so they can actually become a pretty sophisticated board shaper for less than $100,000.
Yeah.
Very good.
And then they can also run a business out of it, cutting boards for all their friends.
Exactly, and that's kind of where I was headed with this, is that this could actually be a business opportunity for people who are, having fun, maybe as a hobby, maybe not making a lot of money, but wants to be involved and maybe make it profitable for themselves.
We have a lot of customers that have done that, yeah, a lot of guys.
Very good. And so, just out of curiosity, how many machines do you have out there? I mean, is this?
We probably have about 110 around the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's what drives, I guess, your dominance in that market, is that you've got a lot of machines out there.
Yeah, we have a lot of machines around there.
Very good. Just, do you have any idea how many boards are being used out there that's designed by your process?
It's difficult to actually fully estimate, but I mean, we think about definitely at least a quarter of the world's surfboards, but my business partner thinks about half, and he probably knows more than I do.
Okay.
But I would say 40% would be pretty safe. Of the surfboards, of stand-ups, we're a much higher percentage of that, because we kind of got into that market pretty early and took care of it.
Okay, so any other applications? I mean, I just, snowboards, is that a possibility? Can something be done with that?
Those are a sandwich construction with composite materials, so those don't get cut the same way our foam gets cut. A weird one we looked into a while ago was airplane wings. We got requested from a handful of different people. Years ago, we haven't heard these, but they make custom airplanes. I guess these people make custom airplanes and fly them around.
This is for people to fly, and they're not...
they're actually flying around.
Not
these
drones
planes.
or anything.
No. Yeah, these are... I mean,
Wow.
I talked to one of them for a while. This was years ago, and I was like, I don't know if we want to get into that. But
Well, make sure you got insurance.
we've looked into sort of like kayaks and one-mans and those kind of things. It does require a machine sort of change, but we're pretty busy with surfboards.
Yeah, no, sounds like you've got not only a niche market, but you've got a big piece of that niche market. That's impressive. Do you advertise at all? I mean, are you in any of the surfer magazines?
I pay money to Google AdWords.
That's
doesn't
the
count.
extent of your marketing and promotion. Huh?
I mean, we get editorials in the magazine sometimes, and then different online things. But we're in a pretty word of mouth game. And that's kind of what helps us a lot. Is if one shaper tells another shaper something, and that guy's respected, that gets moved along.
Well, you've captured a huge percentage of the marketplace with very limited promotion and marketing. Primarily it sounds like through word of mouth. My gosh, I can't help but think what would happen if you actually started promoting and selling this and made everybody more aware.
It's something I've been thinking about. We've been, especially at the very beginning, we just were head down into the technology, and because we're all kind of tech guys. And I think that's, you bring up something that we should probably think about.
Okay, well, we won't tell the competitors what the plan is,
Perfect. Not on your show.
No, but that's exciting. That's and this is such a well-kept secret that I don't think there's very many people in Hawaii that realize that we've got one of the dominant players in surfboard shaping, living and operating right here in Hawaii. And that is so cool. All right, so.
We have fun, yeah.
Yeah, fun. Now, it seems like every time I call you and try to reach out, you're in some surf town somewhere around the globe. I mean,
Look, sometimes I'm in California working.
well, no, I'm sure you are.
No.
But
But yeah, we do get to surf there too. But no, I mean, this is it. Yeah, it leads for good lifestyle. We have to test the product.
All right, very good. I wish we had more time, but we've just run out. We'll have to have you come back for another show, and we can talk some more about some of these things. But this is Reg Baker, Business in Hawaii. We air live every Thursday at 2 o'clock here at ThinkTech Studios in downtown Honolulu. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Aloha.